The word sin today makes noise. It sounds like a blasphemy spoken at the table, like a stain on a good suit, like something to avoid so as not to spoil the party. And yet sin is not an idea. It is a posture of the body. It is a wrong gesture repeated when no one is watching. It is a hand that trembles before doing what it already knows it should not do. The Bible does not dress it up. It does not make it elegant. It leaves it naked. Dust falling into the eyes, mud under the fingernails, flesh that desires and takes the wrong road. Sin is not born in moral codes. It is born in hunger. Hunger to be seen, hunger to be loved, hunger not to die alone. Adam does not bite a concept. He bites a fruit. Eve does not betray a doctrine. She stretches out her arm. Sin enters the world like this, with a simple gesture, almost banal. And here comes the point that frightens. We are all steeped in it, not because we are evil, but because we are unfinished. Whoever says they do not sin lies, and often lies to themselves with great elegance. Those who believe themselves pure have usually only learned to hide their own shadow better. Scripture says it quietly without hysteria. There is no one righteous, not even one, not as condemnation, but as diagnosis. We are all wounded in the same place. The scars change, not the blood. Sin is not the monster under the bed. It is the unmade bed in the morning. It is the message not sent. It is the one sent at night and deleted by day. It is the glass too many that becomes the second, then the third. It is the gaze that lingers where it already knows it will end. And so, no, we must not be afraid of it. God is not afraid of sin. He enters there, always. Jesus does not keep company with the clean. He eats with tax collectors, sits beside prostitutes, touches lepers. Not because sin is beautiful, but because that is where man is bleeding. Fear of sin generates monsters worse than sin itself. It generates hypocrisy. It generates masks. It generates cardboard saints that smell of mold. Those who fear their own sin will end up judging the sin of others. Those who look it in the face instead learn compassion. But be careful. There is a point where sin ceases to be a wound and becomes habit. And habit becomes vice, and vice becomes chain. Occasional sin hurts. Vice builds a house in evil, furnishes it, hangs the curtains, calls you by name. It is not falling that enslaves. It is stopping, wanting to get back up. A man who betrays and weeps is still alive. A man who betrays and laughs has already begun to die. Wine drunk for celebration is a gift. Wine drunk not to feel is slavery. Sin must not be demonized. It must be crossed with truth. Looked at without alibis, named without useless poetry. Because only what is seen can be saved. There is a subtle but decisive difference. Sin is a crack. Vice is when you begin to grow fond of that crack, when you stick your finger into it every day until it becomes a door. The Bible uses bodily words. Sin is crouching at your door. It does not fly. It does not philosophize. It waits. It does not break in by force. It enters when you stop resisting, when you say, anyway, it's too late. That is where sin changes nature. From mistake, it becomes identity. You no longer do something wrong. You become what you do. The liar no longer lies out of fear. He lies to breathe. The miser does not hoard out of need. He hoards to exist. The violent man does not explode. He functions like this. And this is the point where one must be afraid. Not of sin, of the habit of sin. Because habit anesthetizes. It switches off the pain that could have saved you. It makes you efficient at evil. It makes you say, this is how I am. No, this is not how you are. You have let yourself be made this way. Scripture never says that man is his sin. It says that he can be enslaved by it. And the slave is not guilty like a master, but he must be freed. And here comes the part few want to hear. Freedom has a cost. It costs a renunciation. It costs a clean cut. Jesus is tender with sinners, very harsh with vices. He does not say, it's fine as it is. He says, go and sin no more. Not because he does not understand, but because he knows that vice kills slowly, like a rope that tightens by a millimeter every day. Sin does not send you to hell. Vice convinces you that hell is your home. So how do you stand before sin? Upright, without excuses, without self-pity, without moral theater. The one who falls and gets back up 1,000 times is more alive than the one who never falls because he never walks. Sin, crossed with truth, can become a threshold, a turning point, a place where you stop lying. Many saints were born there, not in purity, but in collapse. Do not be afraid to say, I was wrong. Be afraid to say, I no longer care. Because the day sin no longer hurts you, it has already begun to command you. And if you listen closely, at the bottom of every sin there is a longing for God even when you hate Him, a longing for home even when you set it on fire. Sin is a crooked prayer, vice is a dead prayer. There is an image the Bible repeats without explaining: dust. God needs man from dust. Dust is not dirty, it is fragile. It is what remains when you stop pretending to be eternal. Sin is the clumsy attempt of dust to feel like God, to last, to not depend, to not ask. That is why we are all steeped in it, not out of malice, but out of vertigo. The vertigo of freedom. Freedom is a dangerous gift. It allows you to love. It allows you to destroy. The same gesture, two different outcomes. Cain does not kill out of sudden rage. He kills because he cannot bear comparison. He cannot stand not being preferred. Sin is often born there. In comparison, that becomes resentment. And God does not strike Cain down. He speaks to him. He calls him to account. He puts a mark on him to protect him. This is scandalous. God protects the sinner, not the sin. The sinner, those who fear sin have not understood God. Those who play with sin have not understood man. The problem is not falling into the mud. It is staying there because it is warm. Vice is always comfortable. It is an emotional shortcut. It spares you the pain of change, but it presents you with the bill, with interest. Look at a man enslaved by vice. He is not happy. He is predictable. He repeats. He consumes. He is consumed. Scripture calls this state a hardened heart. Not evil, hardened. Like a wound never treated that forms a callus. And then sin no longer hurts. And when it no longer hurts, it does much more damage. There is nothing romantic about vice. It is not rebellion, it is routine. The true rebellion is to say enough. To say enough to what possesses you, to say enough to what steals your name, to say enough to what calls you every night. And no, you do not need to be perfect. You need to be defenseless, stripped, honest. Confessed sin loses its power. Hidden vice becomes master. That is why the Bible insists on speaking, on telling the truth, not to be punished, to be free. The truth will set you free, not because it is beautiful, but because it is sharp. Truth hurts like disinfectant. It burns, but it saves the limb. Sin is not your name. It is a wound that can heal. Vice, instead, wants to convince you that you are only that wound. Do not believe it. There is a scene that returns. A man sitting on the ground, dust on his knees, eyes lowered. Around him, stones ready. It is the adulteress caught in the act, exposed, reduced to her mistake. Here sin is public. It has no more refuges. It cannot explain itself. It cannot defend itself. And Jesus does not raise his voice. He bends down. He writes on the ground, as if sin did not deserve a direct gaze, but a slow gesture. Let the one who is without sin cast the first stone. It is not an easy absolution. It is a silence that splits hands open. The stones fall, one by one, because everyone knows, everyone remembers. And to her, he does not say it doesn't matter. He says, go, walk, leave this place. Do not return to living like this. Sin is not the end of the road. It is often the point where the road begins again, if you do not turn it into a den. Vice instead asks you to stay. It promises peace. It gives you numbness. But man is not made for numbness. He is made for struggle, not against himself, for himself. Every sin has a way out. Every vice needs a decision. Not heroic, concrete. A hand held out, a number deleted, a bottle left unopened, and accepted silence. The Bible does not promise that you will stop falling. It promises that you will not fall alone. And this changes everything. Because shared sin becomes a bearable weight. Hidden sin becomes a tyrant. You do not have to be pure. You have to be true. Sin is not an identity. It is a story that can be rewritten. Vice instead always wants the last chapter, and it wants it short. That is why do not be afraid of sin. Be afraid of resignation. Be afraid of calling normality what extinguishes you. As long as you feel pain, you are alive. As long as you desire the good, you are on the way. As long as you ask for help, you are not a slave. Sin is human. Slavery is not. And if you fall again, get up again. Not with pride, with a hunger for light,